Muscular freedom through balance. Always feeling the weight of the body down the front of the shins, not the back. Feeling so good from the inside out. Better than your morning would feel without. Stretching our self-awareness like a muscle every morning, just using some body magic tricks to feel so good in this simulation of ours. What are some body magic tricks? As in just moving our self-awareness around and allowing our body to feel so good and rewarded for it. How do we do that? Well, in this simulation of ours that we are living in which we die every 5 minutes, but that timer is reset with every breath that you take, I invite you to hold this controller properly and do a little bit of body magic tricks with me today by putting into your awareness that in the imagination of every being that you become aware of, whether they're in your mind's eye or whether they are right in front of you or whether they're in the reflection, every being in their imagination, they are pretending that there's a candle in front of their lips that they're trying to not put out. This is part of that body magic trick. And as these beings, including yourself and every being you become aware of, reflection or right in front of you or in a computer screen or otherwise, every being is pretending that there's a candle in front of their lips that they're trying to not put out. Whether they're speaking to you, whether they are swimming, whether they are cooking, whether they are walking, or whether they're sleeping, or whether they're sitting down, they're pretending that there's a candle in front of their lips that they're trying to not put out. As well as remembering the nature of their tongue is that the tip of the tongue wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth. The nature of the tongue is that the tip of the tongue wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth. And as you become aware of everyone being aware of this, how does that feel for you? With that candle also flickering right in front of their lips, and the tip of their tongue wanting to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth. How does that feel for you? And just to add a little bit more spice, a little bit more sprinkles to this body magic trick, we might remember that the back 1/3 of our tongues are vertical, up and down, up and down, up and down. So while the tip wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth, the back 1/3 of the tongue wants to be vertical, up and down, up and down. And notice how far forward of the body both of these feel. How far forward of what we might consider balance to feel like these feel. And so as we are participating in these body magic tricks and perceiving the candle in front of everyone's lips that they are trying to not put out, and the nature of the tongue being that the tip wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth, and the back 1/3 is vertical, up and down, and say it with me, up and down, up and down. How does that feel for you? My name is Herbie. Good morning and welcome to Pow Go On. Today is Warfare Wednesday, another Warfare Wednesday. Today's the Truth Hurts Day, another Truth Hurts Day. It hurts, doesn't it, that it's not Warfare Wednesday, but in fact, it is the Truth Hurts Day. Doesn't that hurt? It is 5:38 a.m. on Thursday, October 21st, 2021. The Truth Hurts Day. The Truth Hurts Day. The Truth Hurts Day. Good morning, everyone. Where we will be discussing our topic today. Which is on the tip of my tongue, which is anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth. What is today's topic? What is today's topic? Can somebody help me? What is today's topic? I don't know what today. I know nothing. Exactly. I know absolutely nothing. We know absolutely nothing. And that's how we go through life. We'll be right back after this. A short break. But only if you remember that you know nothing. As in, does your body know any other moments but here and now? Might we always be going in the right direction? Should we assume we know nothing? The truth hurts, but the truth hurts so good. Here on Pow Go On, my name is Herbie. I guess. And this show is called... What's his name again? Pow Go On. problem is that we do not have five senses, we have six. Six being kinesthesia, our sense of self. Our sense of self, so important. Welcome back. My name is Herbie. This has been Pal Go On. Good morning, it is 5:43 a.m. as we are stretching our self-awareness, not doing really much, but realizing that we can feel so good from the inside out, get so rewarded by our own body from the inside out simply by placing our self-awareness on proper things. Now, what is self-awareness, Herbie? Well, possibly everything. As in, what do you interact with? What do you think about? What does your body feel? If not, what it is aware of. This chi stuff that we think about, this nen stuff, this ki stuff, as in these chakras, these powers that we see demonstrated in the media throughout our world right now, whether we are watching movies or whether we are watching TV or consuming media, this inner struggle, this inner power that is often seen in anime as well. What might it be, if anything, but awareness? Welcome back to Pal Go On. It is Thursday, October 21st, 2021. Another Truth Hurts Day, where the truth might hurt, but the truth hurts so good. The truth hurts so good. Like, how does it feel to place your awareness on the front of your shins right now? Isn't that a truth? Might it hurt, as in it feels unfamiliar? We feel like we might not be able to handle it. Maybe it's uncomfortable. Maybe we feel like we cannot stay there. Truth might hurt, but it hurts so good. How is it feeling to place the weight of the body down the front of the shins, not the back? Our self-awareness, as we are stretching it every weekday morning, what might we be stretching our self-awareness onto today on the Truth Hurts Day? Whatever you are doing out there, family, friends, maybe you were at a bar, maybe you are just drinking all around the table, just some juice or some water. Whatever you are doing out there, as we are stretching our self-awareness like a muscle, what will we be stretching our self-awareness onto today, as we are all holding our candles in front of the lips that we're trying to not put out? We might be talking about how I know nothing. I know nothing! What are you talking about? I know nothing. We know nothing. As we are always breaking down misconceptions brought onto us by ourselves and the world, on this show, every weekday morning, we talk about another misconception, is that we might know anything. But can we confirm anything? Might we be asleep right now? Just in a simulation right now? Biggest danger when we are at the window at a fast food joint or a coffee joint, and we get enraged by whether people are sitting too close to us, sitting too far from us. Maybe people are giving us a funny look. Maybe the barista we had a funny interaction with, because we think that they should know what we're thinking. But we know nothing. Not even what people are thinking, not even what they are aware of, as we know our awareness might be that ki and chakra thing itself, right? That what our awareness is on is the most important priority of a human consciousness, as that is what is interacting with it. This pain that is on your body, if you feel a pain, how do you know you have this pain? Awareness. If you are hungry, how do you know that you are hungry? Well, this feeling of hunger is now into your awareness. Even in the subconscious and unconscious minds of ourselves, it is possible for things to be in and out of our awareness. As we are walking down a road, it might be in our awareness that there is a floor underneath us, so our feet and our legs are able to continue moving while we look down at our iPhone or look up at the sky. Our awareness of the ground allows us to continue that pattern of walking. It doesn't mean that we are consciously focused on the ground, but it is in our awareness, whatever level that might be at. Consciousness, subconscious or unconscious. It is in your awareness, which is why you are able to operate on it. How much of ourselves is in our awareness at a time? Well, different layers of consciousness. As in, we might be in the present, we might be thinking of the past, we might be thinking of the future, even if we're thinking about a body's awareness. As in, we might be thinking different states of layers of consciousness, or states of consciousness even, by thinking of our body in a more emotional state, or a more logic-driven state, or one that is more focused on survival. We might become aware of our body in different states of consciousness. We might have different spirits about our body. Whether we are sad, happy, going towards balance, or going towards chaos. And all of that is only within our own body, within our own awareness, and yet we cannot even triangulate exactly on which one we are speaking about, for we are aware of multiple different layers of consciousness at a time, at all times for our bodies, right? As in, we might be feeling our body physically and having an emotion at the same time, while also perceiving the senses, the physical senses around us, like audio, visuals, taste, touch. We might be experiencing all of those senses while simultaneously being emotional, or perhaps focused on breathing well, or anything that our mind's awareness might be on might be happening simultaneously as a physical sense is also being introduced into our experience. So they merge. We're experiencing a bunch of things at a time, at all times. And so it's so difficult to even understand what we are going through. How can we even begin to project what is happening onto this outside world when what we are going through is also catalyzed? It's also changed by what is happening on the outside world. How can we begin to know what is on the outside world if what's on the inside world, which is causing us to want to know anything, or it holds our ability to know anything, if that container to hold anything itself, if that container itself is affected by the things around it, then how can we even begin to think that we know what is out there, what is in someone else's brain, what is in someone else's awareness, when even within our own awareness we are not able to single out exactly what we are paying attention to, when there are so many different layers. We're always drawing connection and meaning. You amazing window to this godlike experience that you are. You beautiful creature, you godlike creature, you. Always establishing meaning, present, past, and future, mixed in with how you're feeling right now emotionally, mixed in with your goals in your head, what's in your awareness of what your goals are at the moment, whether they just be to go home, to get some rest, to get some food. What are your needs right now that you're trying to meet? We all have different needs, and those different needs arise at different times, whether they be sleep, social, love, food, water, breathing, because we die every 5 minutes, but that timer is reset with a breath. Any which one of those different needs could be in focus at a different time for you, let alone for someone else. We know nothing. The conversation never ends. It never just is that first interaction, never just is that second. We know nothing. It takes forever to get to the bottom of ourselves, let alone another person, let alone another entity. So we might as well begin starting now. It takes forever for us to even know ourselves. And even then, it's still just a wish. Hopefully we know that we're not asleep right now. We know nothing. Is that more about breaking our ego down? Is that more about breaking your ego down? You know nothing. As we are always remembering that there's a candle in front of everyone's lips that they're trying to not put out. As you're thinking about anchoring the tip of the tongue to the back of the bottom front teeth, or that it wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth, and that the back 1/3 of the tongue is vertical. We know nothing. I know nothing. Is that about breaking your ego down? possibly, as everything should be, but is that about hurting your ego? Is that about hurting you particularly? Is that specifically about the hurting of you to say I know nothing? Or is it more about an establishment of a kind of wait and see attitude? We know nothing. You cannot confirm barely between what is happening between your spine and your skin. Yet we claim to know what's going on in another person's head, another person's awareness. Would we not more often be on the correct side to assume that we do not know anything yet? To assume that we do not know what this person's speaking about? To assume that we do not know exactly what they are aware of? And so how can we blame them for not being aware of the same thing as how can you operate properly on anything in which you have no awareness of? As we know, awareness is the most important, powerful tool for a human being, for us to actually categorize and organize our world. Our awareness. What is in our awareness? What is known versus what is unknown? The most basic constructs of the universe. There have been thousands and thousands of years trying to find a simpler and simpler and simpler way to look at the world so we can enjoy and balance in the world. And that simplest form has been what is unknown and what is known, what is aware of and what is not made aware of. So how can we blame anyone of anything if they are not made aware of it? How can they even begin to act on a need that we might have, whether we be at the coffee store or whether we be at the drugstore? Should anyone not be made aware of our needs at all, what our needs might be? How can they act on those needs? And so can we blame anybody for not having something in their awareness yet? We know nothing. I know nothing. More often the truth than not, to say we know nothing. As our experience, our ability to confirm anything is so limited to begin with. Even from our core to our skin, can we confirm anything? Can we confirm that there is anything that is true, that is true, that is true? From our core to our skin, as we might just be in a simulation right now. We might just be asleep right now. How much can we confirm? Aren't we more closer to the truth more often than not when we establish a disposition of not knowing, establish an idea of not knowing? How could we? We barely know where the tip of our tongue wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front of. We barely remember that there is a candle in front of everyone's lips that they're trying to not put out. We're often forgetting that the back 1/3 of our tongue wants to be vertical, up and down, up and down. We sometimes believe that we sit on our legs when we do not, in fact, sit on our legs. We often believe that the weight of the body wants to be delivered down the back of the spine and then into the tailbone, but we know, we remember. We might not know nothing, but we can explore and see how it feels to place the weight of the body down the front of the spine, the weight-bearing portion of the spine. If you would say it with me, the weight-bearing portion of the spine is the front. Again, say it with me. The weight-bearing portion of the spine is the front. Again, say it with me. The weight-bearing portion of the spine is the front. And then the weight goes into those rainbow arches and not this tailbone as we recall. And do we know that for sure? But how does that feel for you? As we are not taking our word for it, but how does that feel for you? Is this a repeatable measure in which we can feel and then now compare to a past version of this repeatable measure for something within our body? How does that feel for you? As we do not know nothing, we're just observing. We invite you to just observe. We'll be right back after this short break. My name is Herbie, and this has been Pal Go On. Good morning, everybody. remembering to place the weight of the body into the rainbow arches and not into the tailbone. And how does that feel for us? I hope you're out there feeling so well. I hope you're out there drinking some water. Maybe you are eating some pizza. Maybe you are eating some breakfast. I hope you're out there feeling so well. Have we ever been remembering that there's a candle in front of not just your own lips, but everybody's lips that they're trying to not put out? And how is that feeling for us today? Welcome back to another Truth Hurts Day, as we are feeling so good from the inside out, better than your morning would feel without. We are reaching the second half of the show today, as we are supercharging our morning you, superhuman you. You amazing superhuman you window to this godlike experience that you are. I hope you're feeling well out there, in the first podcast at 3D. I hope you're feeling so well out there. But we know nothing. We know nothing. We know nothing. But perhaps does that not give us the freedom, the strength, and energy we need to go and actually know a little something? Maybe we will know nothing ultimately. But the energy to go and get what we want, to get what we need, does it not arise from thinking that we know nothing? Assuming that we know nothing, does that not give us the curiosity, the will to go and find, go and discover? Why? Because when we know everything, when you are the smartest person in the room and you know everything, well, what reason is there to go anywhere? You've already discovered it. You already know it. Your body already knows it. Or it can trick itself into being lazy and not going after it because it believes it already knows it already. It believes it already knows it already, so it does not give itself the energy to go. It already believes and assumes whatever it assumes. Well, might it be that we're assuming wrong? Might it be that when we finally get what we think that we want, we might assume what it feels like, or what we might assume what we might be or what we might do? Our assumption might be wrong. We go throughout life following these roadmaps of what we believe to be right and how to behave in the world, but we all just assume they're right. We all just assume they're right. What happens when you assume you're right? Is there any reason to go and discover? But is looking at a house from the outside the same as going to the inside of the house and looking around? You might believe you know what's in the house already. You might believe you know what's behind that wall already. But when you enter the house, how do you know? What might actually be in there might be totally different, might be totally more expansive, might be totally much deeper, more rooms, more interesting, more reasons to stay, etc., etc. What is in your awareness? When you believe you know is believing to know, but what do you actually know? A belief to know, but what do you actually know? What is known? Only a belief that you know. What do you know exactly? What color is the inside of the house? How many staircases are in there? Did you know that there are 5 staircases in there for no reason? Isn't that wild? We know nothing. We know nothing. We know nothing. Barely can establish what our own awareness is on, let alone other people, as we are pretending that there's a candle in front of the lips that we're trying to not put out. Everybody's lips that we're trying to not put out. Aggressive conversations these days. Aggressive online, face to face. Sometimes, especially with masks on. How can anyone get angry? By believing they know something. By comparing this moment to another moment. By believing that they are true about what they assume others are feeling or others are intending. By assuming that they are correct in whatever intention they believe another person to have, by assuming they are correct when they judge, or assuming that they are correct when other people do not quote unquote care about one another, by assuming that they are correct by looking at what they do on the outside expression of the world, by looking at what they're doing and assuming that they're correct in deciding that their spirit is one that is not looking for the best for human beings. Oh, vax and unvax. By assuming that you are correct in your assumption in why they chose to be unvaxxed or why they chose to be vaxxed, by assuming that you are correct when you think that it's because they don't care about people, by assuming that your idea of them is correct instead of assuming that you know nothing. What kind of stasis in the conversation does that create? By looking at others and looking at the way they express themselves and assuming that they do not have good intentions for human beings in whatever way that they might see, by not searching for whatever it may be that they believe to be good for human beings, by not searching for what they believe to be good, but instead assuming that we know that they know, or that they align with us on what we believe to be good for human beings, by assuming that. Our assumption of knowing too much causes us to be in stasis and anger. We know that what they want is not the best for human beings, because I know that what I want is the best for human beings. But we know nothing. We can barely establish what our awareness is on singularly. Each of us thinking about past, present, future. Each of us on different planes of whether they be thinking about emotionalism, or whether they're thinking about the needs of their finances, or whether they be thinking about the needs of their breathing right now, or whether they're thinking about the needs of trying to appease their boss, or whether they're thinking about the needs of trying to impress their parents or make their parents proud. All of us operating on different needs. How do we know that we're actually all talking about the same thing? We know nothing. How can we assume that because of their actions, they are not reflecting a spirit of one that also wants the best for human beings? But we know nothing. We are more often closer to the truth when we know nothing. More often closer to the truth, as everybody's awareness is so complex, a complex web, our own so hard to decipher. When we look at others, we know nothing. And yet we assume, because we think we know something, that we think we know what's best in our idea of what's best for a human being. And we assume that they know that we know what's best for human beings. And we assume that they know that they are going against this idea of what's good for a human being that's only existing in our minds. A lot of knowing, a lot of thinking that we know that their awareness is even on the same thing. As we know, our awareness being so powerful and being pretty much the only thing that matters, as you cannot operate physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually on anything that you are not made aware of. Even when you are walking on the ground, even when you are looking up at the sky while you are walking forward, the reason why you're able to continue walking forward is because you are at least aware of the ground. Maybe not consciously, maybe not focused on the ground, but in your subconscious and unconscious, it is in your awareness. So as we know, the awareness being the biggest umbrella of our consciousness, most important part of our consciousness, our awareness. How can we know what's in the awareness of another person, as it's so difficult, a weave for us alone, for our own bodies? And so aren't we always more closer to the truth to assume we know nothing? In a conversation with someone who's unfamiliar, in a conversation with someone who's an acquaintance, in a conversation with someone who's very familiar and intimate with you. No matter what. Isn't our awareness so complex that aren't we always more closer to the truth when we know nothing? And don't we have more power to move, and don't we act with most freedom when we are closer to the truth, i.e. our own bodies as well? Isn't there most freedom in truth? As you know exactly what is and what isn't, so you can continue to allow your mind to expand and have fun. And so aren't we always more closer to the truth when we assume that we know nothing, whether we are talking with an acquaintance, a loved one, or ourselves? Aren't we always closer to the truth when we assume we know nothing? What kind of spirit does that bring about us to remember that the tips of the tongue wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth? And do we know that for sure? But how does that feel for you? Does it not benefit our body to have a wait and see attitude, to not destroy our own spirit before we actually go after what we want by thinking that we know what it's going to be like when we go there? Or can we actually raise our spirit by assuming that we do not know anything but what is right here and what is right now? As in, if we are remembering that there's a candle in front of not just our lips, but everybody's lips that they are each trying to not put out. These candles in front of everyone's lips that they are trying to not put out. As you are also remembering that the tip of the tongue wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth, as we notice how far the front of the body that feels. And so when we assume we know nothing, are we not more in the moment? Can we not be more in the moment, getting out of our own way? As in, whenever we assume we know something, don't we get in our own way, block ourselves from it because we already know what it's like, or we already know that we shouldn't go there, we already know that we're too afraid. We already know we can't handle it, so we're not gonna go there. Do we not sap ourselves of energy to go after what we want by assuming that we know what's gonna go there? We know nothing but what is happening right here in this moment. If we get out of our own way and know nothing but what is right here and right now, as in simply place our awareness on what is right here and what is right now, do we know anything else but what is right here and what is right now? I invite you to place your awareness on what is right here and what is right now, to submit to not knowing nothing. We do not know anything. We know nothing. I know nothing. My body knows nothing but what it's feeling right here and right now. Does that free us up? Does that give us energy and free us up to go after what we want in the first place? We know nothing but what is right here and right now. I know nothing but what is right here and right now. I do not assume that you are aware of the same things that I am aware of. I know nothing. So let's continue to find what we are aware of together. I'll be right back here on Padawan, but only if you know freaking nothing. Are you feeling the front of your shins? Are we remembering to feel the front of our shins, to keep the front of our shins in our awareness as we achieve muscular freedom through balance? But don't take our word for it. How does it feel for you to remember that the tips of the tongue wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth? And not just for me, but everybody. How does that feel for you? We invite you to hold this controller properly with us in this simulation of ours in which we die every 5 minutes, but that timer is reset with every breath you take. Good morning. We are here to stretch our self-awareness like a muscle. Welcome to the last quarter of the show. Welcome back, welcome back. Sit down or continue walking or standing or sitting or whatever you are doing. I know nothing. Aren't we always more closer to the truth? Aren't we always more closer to the truth when we assume we know nothing? Does that not give you the energy to go and discover and actually begin to knowing something? Do we not sap ourselves of the energy required to go and do what we want when we assume we know anything? When we assume we know what it's going to be like, how much it's going to hurt, whether or not we can handle it, whether or not it will be worth it. What do we know? What is worth it? Our body's so complex, so our body's awareness on so many different things at all different times, different needs and different goals, but most importantly, different needs that our body could be made aware of at any different point in time. Our mind can be made aware of. So what exactly do we know? How much do we know? What do we know? How much it will be worth it? Whether or not we can handle it? Well, how much did we know before we were doing in front of the candle with it? Whether or not we can handle it? How much do we know? Do we know what it will feel like? Do we know what muscles will be interacted with when we remember that there is a candle in front of everybody's lips that we're trying to not put out? Each of us trying to not put out. Each of us trying to not put out. Not thinking about inhaling or exhaling, but remembering that in front of everyone's lips, there's a candle that they're trying to not put out. And that the tips of their tongue want to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth. Do we have any clue of what will happen when we place our awareness onto those proper channels to get out of our own way to experience? In order to get out of our own body's way to experience this moment here and now, do we know what muscles must be interacted? Do we know which muscles need to be used or relaxed? No, we know nothing. Only that our awareness needs to be placed onto the candle in front of everyone's lips that we're trying to not put out. And remembering that the back 1/3 of the tongue is vertical up and down, and the tips of the tongue wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth. Do we know what the body will do in reaction to this? No, we do not. Otherwise, our body would have already been thinking about the candle. It already would have been using these muscles. We would not need the candle. However, the beautiful thing about it is we do not know. We know nothing, and guess what? Always on Padawan, and that's a good thing. We know nothing, and that's a good thing. We know nothing, and that's a good thing. As in, we don't know what's going to happen when you place your awareness onto the proper channels. That amazing window to this godlike experience that your vessel is will decide that for you. We know nothing about what will come out of it. But we feel towards the alignment and share what parts of the alignment has helped us feel so good from the inside out. Placing the candle in front of our lips that we're trying to not put out. Yes, we may see these structures in anatomy, but feeling them from the inside out, we don't know what that's going to be like. Why? This layer between our skin and all the way down to our core, we don't know what any of this is going on about. Our body, we are coordinated to use it, but all a mystery to us, but is us from behind our eyes. How can we know anything about the world when we know nothing about ourselves? the viewer itself that is perceiving the world. It is our best chance to begin to familiarize ourselves with the feelings of beginning to know ourselves and to beginning to create a relationship with our body's ability to feel good from the inside out reliably. To create that strong relationship is the best we can do, and even then we cannot know for sure as it's only a relationship. And with every relationship there's always a layer of uncertainty, but that's a good thing. That's what keeps it exciting. That is the reason why this relationship continues to yearn for one another, is the uncertainty. And so within ourselves and in our own body, our relationship with ourselves, as it becomes less mysterious, does it become any less exciting? Does it become any more predictable? Well, no, as the alignment gets out of the way of unpredictability, and that unpredictability is the resulting asset itself. A repeatable regimen towards alignment which encourages pleasurable unpredictability and handleable unpredictability. A repeatable regimen to handle the unpredictable circumstances. A repeatable regimen in the body to handle these uncertainties. A repeatable regimen in the body to produce pleasurable uncertainties. We know nothing. We know nothing what's going to come about, what we can encourage the proper ones. We know nothing. But how do we encourage the proper ones? If you would pretend with me that there is a candle in front of your lips that you're trying to not put out. And we don't know that for sure. We're just allowing these words to go in one ear and out the other. But how does it feel for you to pretend with me? And you could turn this off at any point in time. You could just turn this podcast off in 3D. Do whatever you want. At the end of the day, you will do what the heck you want to do. And we know nothing, but how does it feel for you to pretend that there's a candle in front of your lips? It's just flickering there. And then in the mind's eye of the next person that you become aware of, whether they be a barista or your friend or family, in their imagination, there's a candle in front of their lips. And it's just flickering there. And they're not trying to put it out. They're not thinking about exhaling or inhaling. It's just flickering there. And we know nothing but the tip of the tongue wanting to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth. I wonder what that feels like. We know not what might arise after that, but what does it feel like, and how does your body react? What kind of permission does your body give itself to remember that the tip of the tongue wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth? Everybody does. And as we are leaving our swallowing muscles alone and becoming aware of everyone through the fact that they are keeping into their awareness a candle that they're trying to not put out. We know not what the body might be doing, as a lot of the body might be reacting unconsciously or subconsciously, an area that we literally cannot access directly. We know not what the body might be doing, as our body's not only operating consciously but also subconsciously and unconsciously, reacting to different stimuli, different needs. We are this amalgamation, we are this composite output of all of these different stimuli on different layers of consciousness and subconscious and unconscious. And so we know not what the body's gonna do, but how does it feel to have a repeatable way to observe it? Observe what? Well, how does your body react, and what does it give herself permission to do? When we remind ourselves that there's a candle in front of everyone's lips that we're trying to not put out, and that the weight-bearing portion of the spine is the front, how does the body feel? What does it do? And as we are stretching our self-awareness, whether you are outside, whether we have ourselves on a TV or just in the AirPods, or we are looking outside at the trees, to have a repeatable way to observe the body, how does the body feel? What do you know here in the present moment, here and now, in the most possible way that we can? And you remember that the tip of the tongue wants to be anchored to the back of the bottom front teeth. And do we not get angry in life by assuming that we know too much? By assuming that we know how much energy it will take, by assuming that we will not be invigorated by whatever task that we are afraid of, by assuming that we will not be it will not be worth it, by assuming that we will not feel better afterwards. Do we not sap ourselves of energy when we assume that we know too much? Can we feel better in this body to handle anything when we know nothing, but rather just what is here and now, the body and how it's feeling? And so does that not give us the energy to do what we might think that we might not thought we could have done? That we might thought we could not have done? I invite you to know nothing. I invite you to be right here and now by remembering that the back 1/3 of the tongue is vertical. Up and down, up and down, up and down. And how does that feel for you? I want to thank you so much for coming through. It is 6:29 a.m. So much has been changing. It is 6:29 a.m. on Thursday, October 21, 2021. Can you believe it? We're already here. October 21st, 2021. It is a Thursday. Thank you for joining for another Truth Hurts Day where we know nothing. The truth hurts, but maybe the truth hurts so good. As we are always feeling so good from the inside out, better than your morning would feel without. Always holding our controller properly together, doing some body magic tricks in this virtual simulation of ours in which we die every 5 minutes, but that timer is reset with every breath you take. Thank you so much for coming through. We appreciate you. I appreciate all the likes, comments, subscriptions, follows, or whatever the hex. The donations, the ice creams. It's been wild. It's been wild from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3, and it's gonna be wilder from here on out because we know nothing. Except that we're gonna be right here, feeling the front of our shins, getting to comments and chats in the beginning, middle, and end of the show, as it is kind of a guided breathing kind of show. But who knows, as time goes on, we might be having a time slot shift. We might be having some collaborations. We might be doing a lot of things, but we know nothing. But what we do know is that we've been appreciating. I do know that I've been feeling the appreciation. And I do appreciate all of the kind words of encouragement. We will be getting an intro again, a proper intro again. Shout out Eric Taylor Maine. Thank you. It helps to get our awareness on those, awareness on what is like, on what people gravitate towards or what they like about the show, as we can improve it. There's always room for improvement for everything. So what is in our awareness as we grow as a community would be nice. It's fantastic. So I appreciate that, Felipe Mon, we know nothing. We know nothing. Absolutely nothing. Except that I'll go on forever. And that there's a candle in front of your lips, and not just your lips, but everybody's lips that we're trying to not put out. We know nothing, but we can begin discovering. We can begin searching. Our hands holding the controller properly. Our hands holding each other in our awareness, locking fingers, so to speak. We'll see you here tomorrow for another Freedom Friday. Whether you came from D-Live, or whether you came from Discord, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, word of mouth, a friend, family member, a foe. Thank you so much for coming through. We'll see you tomorrow for a Freedom Friday, where we will be discussing how to feel so free in the mind and body. We'll see you right here tomorrow, guys. Feeling so good from the inside out. better than your morning would feel without. My name is Herbie. Good morning, everyone. Always doing some body magic tricks. Let's feel so good. Good morning, everyone. This has been absolutely THU. Go on.